Inshallah, we will take Surah Al-Balad from ayah number 5 to 10. Surah Al-Balad from ayat number 5 to 10, inshallah. Surah number 90 in ayat 5 to 10. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ayahsabu an lan yaqdira alayhi ahad يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا أيحسب أن لم يره أحد ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانا وشفتين وهديناه النجدين. Does he think that no one will overcome him? He says, I destroyed a lot of wealth. Does he think that no one saw him? Didn't we make 2 eyes for him, a tongue and 2 lips, and we showed him 2 ways? क्या वो गुमान करता है कि कोई भी उस पर कादिर नहीं होगा? वो कहता है कि मैंने अपने बहुत सारे माल को हलाक कर दिया या खर्च कर दिया। क्या वो गुमान करता है कि उसको किसी ने भी नहीं देखा? क्या हमने उसके लिए 2 आंखें, 1 ज़ुबान और 2 होंठ नहीं बनाए? क्या हमने उसे 2 रास्ते नहीं दिखाए? In these ayat of Surah Al-Balad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us all that if you are someone that is the person of wealth, the person of health, and the person of status, and then you think that now no one can come across and no one can many times it happens in the lives of the human being. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them, so then they ignore about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are people out there who are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but at the same time, they do not forget, ignore about their Creator, about these blessings, because this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given them. But there are people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, whenever they are blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever they see that I am a strong man, whenever he sees that I am someone that has people around me, I am someone that is blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so this man, then he ignores about Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, does he think that no one will overcome him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, that is, you are deceived by your nafs, the shaitan. misguided you, that you forgot about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has given you everything. If you are a rich man, that is from Allah. If you are a poor, that is from Allah. If you have good, decent job, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have family, and many are there, they do not consider this the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if someone thinks that I have everything and I don't need anyone now, my wealth is going to take care of me, I am strong enough to take care of myself, and I have people, they will support me, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, that is what you are deceived by shaitan, deceived by your nafs, because Allah is the one that who has the absolute power. There were people in the past, Qawm Aad and Qawm Samud and Fir'aun, way stronger than these people than us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. When they become ignorant, they ignored about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We look at Qarun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a lot of treasures. And when he became arrogant, and he said, this is because of my abilities and my power and because the strength that I have, that's why I have all these things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the earth to pull him down. So him and his entire wealth went down the earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ. Does he think that no one will become dominant, no one will overcome him? يَقُولُ أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا. And out of arrogance, then he says, I spend a lot of wealth. It's because that he has that. So when he says that I destroyed, the word halaktu mean I destroyed. It means that I spend a lot of wealth. And this is in the Arab, they used to spend, to drink the alcohol and then to spend their wealth in haram. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is reminding us that those people who did that, there are people now today in the world that who do the same thing. They destroy their wealth. They spend their wealth in a way which is not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are people that they are so arrogant and so stubborn, and they say, يَقُولُ أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا. This man, he says, أَهْلَكْتُ, I spent, I destroyed, malan, wealth, lubada, a lot of wealth I have destroyed. أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ. Does he think أَن لَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ, that no one saw him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, do you think that what you are doing, no one is watching you? You are completely free and away and hidden from everyone? No, there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has the power to overcome you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has the power to see you and to watch you. And the army of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is 24/7 with you. You cannot hide. You cannot do anything that go unnoticed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is not aware of that. أَيَحْسَبُ أَن لَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ. Does he think that no one saw him? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَلَمْ نَجْعَل لَّهُ عَيْنَيْنِ. Didn't we made two eyes for you? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He more specifically, He describes some of His blessings, some of the ni'am, the greatest ni'am that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So He says, أَلَمْ نَجْعَل لَّهُ. Didn't we make lahu for him aynayn, two eyes? وَلِسَانًا, and a tongue, وَشَفَتَيْن, and two lips. Why don't you think that the eyes that you have, the tongue, and the two lips that you have are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If you are a man of knowledge, if you are a man of health, and you are someone that is blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's because of these ni'am, these blessings that you have. You consider for a while that you don't have your eyes, your tongue does not move. What are you going to do? Allah can do that to stop your tongue and not to move from there. What you will do then? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He took the eyesight, what you can do then? Allah is reminding us that every ni'mah, every single organ in your body, that is blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not be arrogant. The eyes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, so delicate. How the way that Allah structured, and not one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I gave you two eyes to see more things, and easily you shouldn't have problem. And the eyes, then the function of the eyes, that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the eyes created, the function that are connected to your brain, how these eyes take the messages to the brain, and then you decide things. If you don't see things, your brain is also stop working. The eyes, that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He fashioned, so how they are protected. The eyeball that is inside, and then the eyelid, the eyelashes, the eyebrows, these things that covers the eye and protect the eye. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created the structures of the eye. You look at that. Alam naj'al lahu aynayn. Didn't we make two eyes for you? And then the nerves inside the eyes, how delicate nerves there are. This machinery that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He fixed here, that is the greatest ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alam naj'al lahu aynayn. Didn't we make two eyes for him? Walisanan, and a tongue. Then the tongue, the ni'mah, the blessing, the favor of the tongue that you and I, we have. This ni'mah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He distinguished you from all other creations. All other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the animals, insects, the birds, and anyone in this dunya, they do not have this ni'mah. The power of speaking, the tongue that is moving wherever you want, and the tongue that you are enjoying your food, the tongue that protects your lungs not to allow the air to get into your lungs. That is the tongue. How many works, many things we know, and there are things that we don't know even. So when you are speaking, you are talking, that's actually the ni'mah, the favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you, and you are benefiting from that. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes back this ni'mah from you, you won't be able to enjoy these comforts of dunya. If you have no eyes, may Allah protect us, and you have no power of tongue, no one is gonna hire you for a job. Even you won't be able to move from your house. You will be restricted to your house if the eyesight is gone. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, these are the greatest ni'am, blessings of Allah. Walisanan, and the tongue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And then we were talking the other day, the tongue, the words that we pronounce and we say, in tajweed there are 17 articulation points, makharij. Out of 17, 10 articulation points are related to the tongue. 29 7 letters that we have, Arabic letters, right? Out of 29 letters, 18 letters are pronounced from the tongue. So this one organ and how it works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلِسَانًا, and a tongue, وَشَفَتَيْن, and two lips. Two lips that look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it beautiful, your face. and how you are eating your food with these lips, how you enjoy, how you are benefiting from these parts of the body. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us. Only these three organs are mentioned here. There are others, but that are mentioned in Quran Kareem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I gave you heart. I gave you ears that you listen with. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, all these things, all these blessings, you will be questioned on the day of judgment about these favors of Allah. So don't take it just to enjoy the luxuries of this dunya. No, this is to recognize about Allah. The eyes that Allah has given us, it is to look around and to find out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ears that are given to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listen to the Prophet, to the words of Allah and the Prophet. And the lisan, the tongue that is given to us to say the truth. This lisan, the tongue that is given, the lips that are given, use these things in something beneficial. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us on the day of judgment, where did you use these abilities? You were capable to speak, you were capable to watch things and to decide things. You were given sound heart and mind. What did you do with that? Inna sam'a wal baswara wal fu'ada kullu ulaika kana anhu mas'ula. Quran Kareem says, your hearing and your eyesight and your heart, everything will be questioned on the day of judgment. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I gave you 2 eyes, I gave you a tongue, I gave you 2 lips. For what? For this to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something like, if we only look at these things without looking out there to the rest of the universe that Allah has created, if we think how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala structured the eyes and how the tongue works and the lips, you will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single part of the body is telling us that I am created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have 5 fingers, and just take out one of the 5 fingers and then you look at that, how it looks. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped the movement of your joints, these 5 fingers, the hands, what are you going to do? That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us. This is us that we have given you. Don't be so arrogant. Don't go away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not forget about this blessing that Allah has given you. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, and we showed him 2 ways. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I have created you, I have given you the blessings that you have in your body, and then after that I showed you 2 ways, which way is right and which way is not. What is the path of guidance and what is the path of misguidance. So every one of us, if someone has aql and someone has eyes, we know, we see things, and we can say that what is right and what is not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He showed us the path of dalal, misguidance, and the path of guidance, the path that is going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the path that is going, na'udhu billah, to Jahannam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, we showed you 2 paths. So this way, we cannot complain like many people. They say, oh, I am not guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah willed, He will guide me. If Allah willed, He will put me on the right path. If Allah willed, He will bring me to the masjid. No, Allah is not going to do that. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He did that He showed us 2 paths. This is right and this is wrong. Now this is your choice, the freedom that you have, 100% freedom. Allah is not forcing you to go there. He is not forcing you to go there. Yes, He has given us choice, freedom, that it is you to decide for yourself. And that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the other ayah of Quran Kareem, Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَمَن يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. After showing two paths to the human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, after that, whichever path you are going on, that's up to you. But we will help you in either way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, if you decide to go on the right path, we will help you. We will put you on that path. But if you decide to go otherwise, on the other path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى. We put him on the path where he want to go. So that's why this decision is mine. This is our decision that we say where we want to go. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will not stop us. That's why those people who are committing sin, who are away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah can do that to stop them, not to do. But that is not adl, that is not justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I have given you every single ni'mah, every single blessing that you can recognize. You can think, you can ponder, you can differentiate between the right and wrong. You are shown two paths. Now, if you decide to go on the right path or the other one, that's your choice. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, and we have showed him najdain, two ways, two paths. أَيَحْسَبُ, does he think, أَلَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٍ, that no one will overcome him. يَقُولُ, he says, أَهْلَكْتُ, I spent mal and wealth, lubada, a lot. أَيَحْسَبُ, does he think, أَلَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٍ, that no one saw him. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ, didn't we make for him two eyes, وَلِسَانًا, a tongue, وَشَفَتَيْن, and two lips, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, and we showed him two paths, two ways. أَيَحْسَبُ, does he think, mean the human being, does the human being think, أَلَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٍ, that no one will overcome him. يَقُولُ, he says, أَهْلَكْتُ مَالًا لُبَدًا, I spent a lot of wealth. أَيَحْسَبُ, does he think, أَلَّمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٍ, that no one saw him. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ, didn't we make two eyes for him, وَلِسَانًا, and a tongue, وَشَفَتَيْن, and two lips, وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ, and we showed him two paths. أَيَحْسَبُ, क्या वो गुमान करता है, أَلَّن يَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٍ, कि कोई उस पर कादिर नहीं होगा. يَقُولُ, वो कहता है, أَهْلَكْتُ, खर्च किया मैंने, मालन, माल, लुबदा, बहुत सारा. अयहसबु, क्या वो गुमान करता है, अल्लम यरहु अहद, कि उसको किसी ने नहीं देखा. अलम नजअल लहु, क्या हमने नहीं बनाए उसके लिए, आइनैन, दो आंखें, वलिसानन, और टंग, वशफतैन, और दो होंठ, वहदैनाहु नजदैन, और क्या हमने नहीं दिखाया उसे दो रास्ते. Tajweed. أَيَحْسَبُ أَلَّن يَقْدِرَ, when we connect lam with ya, so in between there is noon, we will have idgham of noon sakin in ya. أَلَّن يَقْدِرَ, qaf heavy with qalqala, يَقْدِرَ, and ra has fatha, again we have ra heavy. عليه أحد, dal, again qalqala. يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا أيحسب أن لم يره. So here idgham of noon sakin, but this is idgham kamil. We don't have any nasal sound, we don't have, we are not holding to the noon. أيحسب أن لم yarahu. So ha has mad on the top, so we'll stretch it. Alam yarahu ahad. So again, dal is qalqala. Sure? Alam naj'al lahu. Again, we have jim here, qalqala. Naj'al lahu aynayn wa lisanan wa noon. Tanween and noon connected with waw. Again, we have idgham of noon, tanween in waw. So we'll have nasal sound gunna here. Wa lisanan wa shafatayn. وهديناهن. Noon has shadda, so that's why noon, we will hold on to noon, we will have gunna. وهديناهن نجدين. Again, jim qalqala. نجدين. أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد. One more time. أيحسب أن لن يقدر So here we have idgham of noon in lam, but this is idgham kamil. We don't have nasal sound here when we connect hamza with lam. Allay, don't say allay. In the second one, yes. Allay yaqdira alayhi ahad. يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا. أيحسب أن لم يره أحد. Once again here. أن لم يره أحد. ألم نجعل له عينين ولسانا وشفتين وهديناه النجدين. So repeat this ayah. Ayahsabu. Don't stretch ba. Yeah. Ayahsabu.